Hello, and thank you for even reading this article, because this is the first step for you. Maybe this is the first time that you've really thought about mental health or even suicide prevention, but here's the thing. My name's DeGreve, and I'm a local mental health advocate, suicide prevention advocate here in the Quad Cities area, and I want to give you a quick few advocacy tips, because while you're reading this article, for a second it might make you think, wow, this is a huge issue, and maybe it's an issue that you didn't think was that huge until you read this. And I want you to know that even though you might not be the quote-unquote expert, you might not be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you could still make a difference. Me personally, I've never taken a psychology class in my life. This is something that I've dealt with personally. I've lived experience with mental health issues, suicide loss, but I took it upon myself to do the research like we are doing today, and taking trainings and learning more about advocacy so that I could make a difference. So how do you do that? I'm gonna give you some very, very basic, minimal tips that you can ingrain into your life right now. One of those being the way that we talk about mental health and suicide. So I hear a lot of people still today talk about the term committed suicide. And if you think about the term committed suicide, committed itself is a negative connotation. And so when we talk about suicide, the way that professionals are now advising advocates to talk about this is to say died by suicide. Because you can die from suicide just like you can die from any other disease or illness. Naomi Judd, when she passed away from suicide, her family came out and said she died from depression. That's another way to talk about this, and to understand that this is a real illness and that it is something that someone necessarily doesn't always have the choice to make. So that's one tip. Second tip is to know the signs, research yourself, right? One big warning sign is a change in personality. Maybe they're giving away things or talking about suicide more, or maybe they aren't talking at all anymore. Just a sudden change in behavior that makes you feel that something's wrong. But also, some people might not always show signs, and so it's really important for you to just check in with the people around you all the time. Even if someone seems like they're doing well, a warning sign of suicide is someone who is actually happier than they were before. And so checking in with the people around you, I would always rather be safe than sorry. I'm constantly asking my friends if they are okay and just letting them know that I'm there. That's another great way that you can be an advocate for someone else. And lastly, something that is extremely important is if you are worried about someone, to ask them the question, are you struggling with suicidal thoughts? To just directly ask that question, because when you do that, that provides a safe space for that person to then say, yes, I've struggled with suicidal thoughts before, and I can tell you from personal experience that it is very hard to bring that to someone else and to tell them that you're struggling. So when you ask that question, it allows them to be able to say yes. And the next question you should ask is, do you have a plan? And if they do have a plan, it's really important that we start to involve some professionals. Call the suicide hotline if you don't know what to do. That number is free, it's confidential, it's available 24/7. It is now 988, so you can call that number at any point, or you can text 741-741, and you will be with someone who is trained in this and can help walk you through it. But really the most important thing is to listen non-judgmentally, to give reassurance, give resources, and just let that person know that they aren't alone. Because when people understand that they're not alone, and they know that they don't have to do it by themselves, it does change the way that their brain operates in that moment, and it makes them more resilient. So those are just some quick tips for you. If you want to learn more, you can find me somewhere online, but most importantly, keep checking out the awesome information in this article, and have a wonderful day, and know that you can make a difference. Even if it's just to one more person, you are changing someone's world, and that can make the world of a difference.